Hi, I'm Tom Loucks, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media Coordinator for the City of Wisconsin Rapids. And thank you for joining me on Get to Know Your City. I'm at the council chambers over at City Hall, and it's another episode for October, last day in October, and this is Halloween, so you'll be seeing this in the month of November. And today's guest I have is Ryan Giefer, the new Wastewater Superintendent. And we're going to get to know him quite a bit more. He took over about 9 months ago, so we'll still call him new here. And I want to welcome you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alrighty. And like I say, we're going to get to know him a bit better, and he's going to introduce himself and tell us where he came from. I know he's from Stevens Point now, but he'll give a little bit of a history. So I will turn it right over to you, Ryan, and let's find out where you came from and how much you like being here.
Sure, yeah, definitely. So I grew up in Waupaca, just about 45 minutes east of here. So I'm from the general area, know the area very well. Knew it was an area I wanted to stay in after graduating from college. Have a lot of family from the area, so it's definitely a good place to live, and I really like it. Growing up in Waupaca, I decided to go to the University of Wisconsin in Stevens Point for waste management and water chemistry. Kind of always had a passion for the environment, and water seemed like a good fit for me. So studied there for 4 years, got my degree. While there, I had a couple of internships. So I got some experience in the fields. I had an internship in solid waste and in wastewater. Decided wastewater was what I enjoyed more, had more of a passion for, so I ended up going that direction with my career. Got a job working for the city of Waupaca as an operator for 2.5 years. Got some good experience in operations of a little bit smaller facility. Was able to get a job at the city of Stevens Point as the chief operator of the wastewater plant. So got a little bit more of a management type scenario there, more experience with dealing with the processes and managing a wastewater plant. Felt like I was ready to take the next step, maybe to like a superintendent level job, and Wisconsin Rapids came open, and I was fortunate enough to be the candidate that I was selected, and it's been great so far. It's been a great place to work, great staff, great facility, so I'm excited about what I've done here already and what's coming in the future.
Alrighty, well, we welcome you here at the city, and I think there's going to be a lot of neat opportunities for you. You have a new staff almost. You have, tell me a little bit about your staff there. It's not just you over there.
No, not just me. No, we've got actually 9, including me. We have 9 employees that work over there. Greg Luke, the chief operator, just retired here in July, so we hired Derek Budsberg to fill his role as the chief operator, so he's brand new. Just before that, Mark Dickinson, an operator, retired after having been here for 20 plus years. So we brought over an employee from the street department, Pat Heineck, to fill his role. So we have myself, the chief operator, 4 full-time operators over there, a maintenance technician, and then also 2 collection system employees, or sewer crew employees that are going out in the city, cleaning the sanitary sewers, cutting roots, televising, things like that. So definitely enough work to be done over there with a 3 million gallon facility and over 100 miles of sanitary sewer. Lots to be done on that department.
100 miles of sewer under
the city roads. Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the process. Is this a 24-hour operation?
It is, yeah. So 365 days a year, we're taking in wastewater. Generally about 3 million gallons per day. We are staffed at the plant 8 hours a day. So at night, the plant is automated to the point where it can operate itself. We still definitely need to be there for those 8 hours a day. But we have 11 lift stations in the city that need to be operated to keep the collection system conveying wastewater to us. So there's a lot of monitoring we're doing remotely from the facility when we're not there. A lot of wastewater plants 10, 20 years ago were staffed 24 hours a day because you didn't have the automation levels you have now. But since we have process logic controllers and computers and SCADA networks, we're able to only be there 8 hours a day. But there's a fully staffed laboratory we have on site as well that we have to be there 365 days a year, 7 days a week. That's determining compliance with us, how the facility is running. So lots of different areas that we have to specialize in at the wastewater department.
Well, you're open to the public. People can come out there between certain hours.
7 to 3 every day.
Okay. Yep. And that's located where in the city?
Over on 1st Street, 2540 1st Street South, kind of by the intersection of Pepper Avenue and 1st Street. We're open for tours if people want tours at any time. I like to give tours to groups as often as I can. It's kind of neat to expose the public to what we do down there at the wastewater plant.
Yeah, we'll probably take a brief tour through this video with
Sure.
you and talk about some of the places. But if you're just joining me here on Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, I'm Tom Loucks, and I'm with Ryan Giefer, the new superintendent over at the Wastewater Treatment Plant. And we're getting to know him a bit better through Get to Know Your City program for the month of November. And we're taping this from the Common Council chambers here on Halloween Day. So, Ryan, let's take a little bit of a tour through the plant and give kind of a visual. You walk in the door, if I remember right, to the left is where you can meet people or talk, and then to the right is your chemistry lab.
Yep.
Is that pretty much where the public needs to go?
Yeah. If they come down there and come right into the main office, we have a main general control room where we start our tours off kind of showing what's happening in the plant from the computer aspect and overview. And then I'll give you a little tour of the laboratory, which is to the right when you come into the main office. That's staffed every day of the year by one of our lab technicians who's performing tests on anything from phosphorus content to nitrogen to BOD, which is biochemical oxygen demand. We're permitted by the Department of Natural Resources in about 11 different tests, so we have a lot going on in the laboratory. But from there, then you can go out into the plant, and we would show you the processes anywhere from initial grit removal all the way through the biological treatment process, which I can give you. Should I give a talk through?
Yeah,
the whole process?
I'm just curious. I think our viewers would like to know a little bit. We'll be showing some of this in between our
Okay.
talking. So,
Okay.
yeah, just a little bit of a history tour. How about
Sure.
that?
Okay. Yeah, so the plant was just upgraded in 2011, so it's a relatively new plant compared to many of them in the state. But the collection system is in need of upgrades now, but the collection system provides the wastewater to the plant. The water's lifted, and then we're doing things like removing grit, removing inorganic rags through screenings. We're sending the water to clarifiers, which are large tanks with rotating arms to remove the solids. It's going to an aerated biological process where the organics are being removed through the microbiology that's going on in the tank. And then we're clarifying the water again, we're disinfecting the water, and then we're sending it to the river. And a lot of those technologies are ones that have just kind of come about. Disinfection hasn't been around for more than 25 years. So within the last 25 years, all these facilities in the state have started disinfecting the wastewater to reduce pathogens, reduce viruses, make the water safer and cleaner for the river that's receiving it. Our facility being as new as it is, we have a lot of cutting edge technology that some facilities maybe don't have yet, but with the way it goes with technology, 8, 9, 10 years, you're already getting behind the 8 ball again with some of your stuff. So we'll be looking to upgrade some of our facilities probably again within the next 5 to 10 years.
Our treatment plant is, like you say, pretty advanced compared to maybe even where you came from.
Yeah.
2011 was redone, so it can handle a lot of volume. Is that correct?
It can, yeah. So our plant is able to handle peak flows of 9 million gallons per day. We could handle daily 5 million gallons of water. We're at about 3 now, so we're just over 50% of our flow capacity. So that's a good thing for the city, having the ability to grow and accept new industry and not be limited by your wastewater plant. Coming from like Stevens Point, which is a little bigger city, but it's actually a little smaller plant because it hasn't been upgraded as recently. Definitely an area that the city of Stevens Point will probably be focusing on in the future is upgrading their capacities and their facilities to match a city that may be growing.
Now, not every city has a wastewater treatment plant, so we do more than Rapids, is that correct?
We do, yeah. We take in the village of Buren's wastewater and also the village of Rudolph. So smaller entities like those that probably don't want to invest in the infrastructure of a wastewater plant, we contract with them. They send us their wastewater, we treat it, and we bill them accordingly. And it's a good thing for us, and it's a good thing for them. It's good for them because they don't have to have the staff and the infrastructure and the investment. It's good for us because now we have all that extra capacity at the plant that we can use, instead of just having a plant that can handle 3 million gallons and only putting 2 through. We're basically renting out that capacity.
Right. Now, is there a meter, a large pipe coming from Rudolph?
Yeah, there's a large pipe from Rudolph and from Buren. Both have flow meters on them, so we're monitoring them on a daily basis. so we can kind of keep track of what they're doing. Are they sending us more or less? We're occasionally sampling them and running tests on their wastewater to make sure it's normal municipal strength. So just kind of keeping an eye on what they're doing and just continuing a good partnership with the two entities.
Let's talk a little bit about what wastewater is. We talk about your toilet.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about your sink, your showers. Is that considered, showers and sink considered wastewater as well?
It is, yeah. Any water that's had any use whatsoever, really, except to water your lawn, is going to come down the sewer collection system to us at the wastewater plant. So anything that goes down the drain whatsoever is considered wastewater. And then another big thing in the city of Rapids is industrial wastewater. So some of the big industries in town, like Ocean Spray or Mariani or the potato processing plant, they also send us wastewater, which is considerably stronger than a typical household would send you. So that's a big factor in when you're designing a facility and you're operating a facility is what sort of industry do you have in town and how can that impact your treatment process.
So a lot to it. So there's quite a bit of difference between waterworks and lighting, which is the water we drink. We don't drink wastewater.
No.
So they're clarifying water as well.
They do. They have a treatment process where they're taking raw water from their wells and they're putting it through, I believe it's a filtration type. I'm not exactly sure their process, but they're filtering it and cleaning it up a little bit so that when they distribute it to the city, it's safe and good to be consumed. And ultimately then the user consumes it or in one way or another uses it. It comes to us, we treat it, and then we send it to the river, and ultimately it goes back through the water cycle, and eventually it would go back into the groundwater and we drink it again. So it's all a circle, and we're basically just making sure that that water is being cleaned and put back into the cycle.
It is a cycle.
Yeah.
And when we were little kids, both of us, you always heard don't waste water. Is that really true, wasting water? Or I guess it could be, but it does do a cycle.
It does, yeah. I mean, ultimately you can't destroy water. It's either going to be liquid, solid, or gas. But just doing what you can to conserve water is important. It's less important, I shouldn't say it's less important, but in a region like Wisconsin or the Midwest where you have an abundance of groundwater, we don't look at it the same as like maybe Arizona or California or where they have water crises. We can use water, treat it, and send it to the river, and we don't worry about it again. In some of those other states, they literally have to treat their wastewater, treat it further to a tertiary level, filter it or put it through a membrane, and then put it back right into the drinking water supply. So they don't have the luxury of putting it in the river and letting Mother Nature finish the treatment process. So we look at it a little differently than they do, but ultimately you want to conserve water as much as you can, but we're here at the wastewater department to make sure when you do use it, we'll clean it up for you.
Alrighty. When Jim Neitzel was the superintendent, I had a chance to go around there. And one of, I think, the unique pieces that we can share with our viewers is some kind of a black light. Is that correct? Or a blue light that it scans? It's over in the far corner.
The ultraviolet light?
Yeah, that's what it is.
UV disinfection. So that's another one of the things that was upgraded in 2011. When you disinfect the wastewater, you either have to do it with chemicals, so like a chlorine to kill what's in it, and then dechlorinate so you're not hurting the river. Instead of adding chemicals, we have what's called an ultraviolet disinfection system. So there's banks of lights, and they're very, very high intensity UV bulbs, and they're essentially killing any pathogens or viruses or bacteria that remain in the water after we're done treating it. If we're not getting to 100% treatment, it's there to kill it. There's banks of the bulbs. They have wipers on them that are cleaning them constantly. It's a really neat, pretty complex system, but it does a terrific job to make sure we're sending completely sterilized water to the river.
Now, is that almost one of the last pieces in the process?
For the water side of things, it is the last piece of the process for us. After we disinfect it, it's going to the river and it's gone. Okay. The solids that we're removing from the water, so when we clarify it, the heavy solids settle at the bottom, the organic solids, we're putting that into what we call digesters. They're anaerobic digesters where we have a whole nother treatment process with microbiological organisms that are breaking down those solids. They're using them as food, and then they produce methane gas through their decomposition process, and then we capture that gas and we burn it in our biogas generator and we make power.
That's right. You have a way to fire up the plant there. Is that right?
We do, yeah. We can, at times, we have a 330 kilowatt generator. At times we can produce all the power we need there. So it's a neat kind of sustainable situation we have where we can treat the water and make clean water. We can treat the solids, make power to do all of these things. And then the end product of the solids is it's actually a pretty valuable fertilizer for farm fields that we can haul out to a local farmer. He can put it on for a nitrogen fertilizer, and it helps the crops grow. So we're making sustainable, valuable products from wastewater, which we find to be a really cool thing.
Yeah, so you can sell the waste, which is clean enough to put on people's crops. And what they do is come up with a truck, and you have a pump out there that pumps it into their truck. Is that how that would work?
So we have a big loader out there. After we process it, we lay it on a blacktop pad just outside of town, and we let the sun kind of cook it and dry it, you might say. So it becomes almost like a soil level of dryness. So you can hold it and stuff, and a loader loads up dump trucks, and we take it to farm fields. We are doing something cool right now where we're getting certified through the DNR to give it away to the community. It's called Class A biosolids. We're going to treat it a little bit further, so it's completely, the volatile organics are reduced, the pathogens are gone, the fecal coliforms are gone, so we can give it to the community, and they can take it, put in their gardens, put on their lawns. That's something that should be ready to go by this coming spring, so I'd like to get a program started where we make the community aware that, hey, we have this great fertilizer product. All you got to do is drive out there with a trailer or a pail, and we'll fill you up, and you can have it for your own use. So something that would be really cool moving forward that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, definitely. Now, is that a liquid or is it solid?
Solid,
It's solid.
Yeah.
So it's not water-based. It's
solid. So it'd be like soil, yeah.
Yeah, so, but you can, you have to actually buy that manure a lot of times.
It's
expensive, so there's something that you're using something, it's definitely sustainable.
It is, and a lot of people hear the word Milorganite, and they know what that is. It's a bagged. So the Milwaukee, they do the same thing, but they sell it. They gave it a name, Milorganite, and they sell it in bags. We're making the same pretty much thing, but we're going to try to give it away for free to start, just to get some momentum going and get some exposure.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, when you get it out, let us know. We'll write about it and get that word out on Facebook, Mayor's blog, this channel, you name it. Any medium we can, city website. Come spring. That's not too long from now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, let's talk a little bit. We have a few more minutes here to talk about some of maybe exciting projects that you're doing. I know one thing that you have to do is, I think you've replaced a lift station. Now you're working on an actual pipe from the west side all the way back to the plant. That's something that needed to be done. So let's talk a little bit about that and maybe some of your dreams.
Yeah. So the west side lift station is one of our biggest lift station, probably the second biggest lift station. Handles about 2 million gallons, more like 1 million gallons of wastewater flow per day on the west side of town. We've engineered its replacement. It's going to be constructed probably this winter, if not next spring. But the big part of that project is the actual pipe that delivers it to the wastewater plant that runs into the river is compromised. It's in very poor shape. So now we're working on how are we going to get a new pipe onto the river, which is it's a big task to take on. The direction we think we're going to go is we're going to directionally drill under the river with a boring rig that it's got a cutting head, and it literally uses water pressure to just bore a channel under the river. And then as it cuts, it pulls pipe along with it under the river. So we'll get a brand new HDPE force main that's going from West Side Lift Station right to the wastewater treatment plant. Brand new pipe, so the life expectancy should be upwards of 100 years. So it's going to be a big, expensive project, but it's going to be something that solves a real issue for us. If the pipe that's currently into the river, which is literally laying on the bottom of the river, if that were to fail, you can see where losing 1 million gallons of sewage to the river would be a real issue. So it is of high priority for us, and we're currently working with engineers to firm up the plans and get construction started on it.
All right. I know earlier we wrote about a dredge, or not a dredge, but a barge, excuse me.
Yep.
Is that still out there, or is that process?
So that was the initial thought, was to just open cut dredge across the river, right. Just because we thought boring would be too expensive. It actually has come back that boring is very similar price to dredging, so we kind of went away from dredging, and we're going to stick to the directional boring, just because permitting with the river and doing open cuts and stuff, the DNR just didn't really want to see it, so we're going to try to go the safer route and directionally drill.
Okay. Well, you'll let us know more, and so we can let the public know if they've something that they need to know. But right now,
Yeah.
everything is operational on all sides, so
Yeah.
no worries there. And you're keeping an eye on what goes in the river because you have to by law.
Mm-hmm.
So, and watching that pipe as well. I guess I wanted to touch base on televising. I think that's a unique piece. You can throw a camera down this hole,
Yeah.
and what is it on wheels? What? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. We one of our sewer crew guys is kind of our main televising, and they both do it. But we have a little camera rig. It's probably about this long. It's on a motorized tractor, we call it, which it's actually a 30 amp tractor. It's very high powered. They lower it down in a manhole, and they'll actually set it down in the sanitary sewer, and then they let it creep through the sewer, and the camera's moving and taking inventory of what's going on with the pipes. So if they see cracks, if they see roots, if they see water getting in or going out, they're making notes of all that. And we're trying to be aggressive about that because our city infrastructure is getting to be pretty old. We have a lot of old clay pipes in the city, so we really want to be aggressive about seeing what condition they're actually in. Are they conveying water properly? Are there roots all over the place? It's going to be a really proactive way to keep our preventative maintenance program ahead of before we run into problems. Because when people have houses that back up with sewage, it's you hear about it right away. So just trying to stay ahead of that sort of problem is something we really want to make a priority.
Yeah, definitely. Now, usually you see these large trucks, or a truck, I should say, that goes in the middle of a road. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's usually cleaning the sewer as it's being
Okay.
televised. You have your big jet vac truck that's, if there is a problem, he's there sucking up any deposits.
Okay.
He can cut roots if he needs to. So that's the kind of the ultimate maintenance machine there, is those trucks you see that are out and about in the city.
Okay. So we're talking about a pipe this big, or it's coming out from the resident, right?
Yep.
And it goes into a main.
Mm-hmm.
And then it branches off. So the main is bigger. What's coming out to the road from the residential, is that something the city has to maintain, or the resident? I'm curious.
So the lateral coming from everyone's house is typically 4 to 6 inch PVC pipe. That's for the resident to take care of. Once it enters our main, that's for the city to take care of. And depending on where you are in the city, there's all different sizes. You go on Grand Avenue out here, you're talking about 30 plus inch pipe.
Oh, wow.
Not very big, yeah. And then some areas of town, you're talking about 6 to 8 inch. So all depending on the amount of houses, the amount of water flow. But we are trying to be very proactive with not only televising those to see the condition, also flushing the areas we know have problems with pitch, where solids might settle. We flush with water to keep the wastewater moving properly. Knowing areas with a lot of maple trees where there's root problems, we're going in and cutting the roots out to make sure we're not getting clogs that way. Definitely just that preventative maintenance is a huge component to what the sewer crew is doing with those pipes.
All right. Storm drains. That's another part of water going to you, is that right? So if we don't clean those, what happens?
So they can back up too. The storm pipes themselves don't lead to the wastewater plant. They go to catch basins and to the river, but our sewer collection system is responsible for cleaning them. So when they fill up with leaf litter, debris, anything that can get in the road and go down the storm sewer, they can back up the roadway, make the roads impassable. They can back up into people's yards once the road's been flooded. So staying ahead of those pipes is very important as well. And when you're talking about storm sewers, you're talking about sometimes 60, 70, 80 inch wide pipes. So very large pipes. So we need very large equipment to be cleaning it, to be flushing it. Mostly those vac trucks are out there sucking out catch basins to make sure they're working and functioning properly.
That's quite a bit of work. Yeah. All those storm drains, if they're plugged, your office is getting the call.
We're getting
right?
the call, yep.
Not the street department,
No.
but wastewater.
Wastewater department, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting to know how that actually works.
Yeah.
But it's important not to dump things down there, because that goes straight to the river.
Right to the river, yep.
Yeah,
It goes through catch basin first, but yeah, those should only be handling rainwater.
I could see why, we do have a lot of street sweepers. Maybe that definitely helps keep the river unpolluted.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
something I see maybe a little more unique in this town, rather than I've seen other areas that don't, maybe even street sweep. But some of them don't have water drainage either. They have like swales and stuff, so it's a little bit different. So.
And some cities will actually take stormwater too and send it to their wastewater plant.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we don't have to do that here. We have the catch basins and sediment traps that allow us to pipe it to the river, but
Right.
That'd be a significant amount of flow that we would have to take in if every time it rained an inch or two, we're talking about millions of gallons that are coming in.
Yeah, that would change a whole different look on what you do and stuff. So.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we learned a lot about the wastewater treatment plant. Is there any plans moving forward? Anything new, bigger? But you'll probably want to get past this pipe is really the big thing.
Yeah, the big one right now is the west side lift and the force main. Moving forward from that, the DNR is changing a few things when it comes to nutrients for us. I know a hot topic right now is phosphorus, and the way the DNR has changed some of the phosphorus limits for not only farmers and what they're putting in the streams, but point source like wastewater plants. So we're looking at new technologies to greater reduce our nutrients, and there's some cool stuff out there with algae growth and using glass pipes to grow algae, which that algae then takes in your nitrogen, your phosphorus. It's called clear ras. We're looking into that. There's other filtration methods we're looking into. So it's definitely only going to be moving in the direction of tighter compliance. So we're going to need greater technology, more equipment, and we look forward to the challenge, but it's certainly going to be a challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is a chemist, and that's why you had to go to school. There's a lot of stuff. It's not just dumping water down a drain, going through a filter, and it's done.
Right, it's very, very involved with the microbiology and making sure you got the proper balance of carbon and nitrogen to phosphorus, and that your microorganisms are happy and thriving, and it's very, very detailed.
I suppose if some of that isn't taken care of, you can get a stench. Is that right? A smell?
Yeah, if you let things get septic, you can certainly generate problems at that facility, and that's one thing we try to avoid. I mean, you are still taking all of the city's sewage and putting it in one place, so there is some odors. But adding oxygen when we can, keeping things moving and mixed definitely helps. So we try to be as proactive with odors as we can as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if anybody wants to come by, they can dump their waste there too if they have a motorhome.
They do. We accept camper waste year-round, even though we can encourage it to be during the summer so we don't have the freezing problems. But it's $5 per load, and you can come down there from 7 to 5 p.m. We're open after hours for campers.
Okay.
And there's a little drop box you can put your money in and dump, and we like to accept that waste as well. We have the ability to treat it, so we might as well take it and handle it appropriately.
Definitely. So do you have like water there then to wash?
Yep, there's wash water available, and little sample cups. We like to get samples too if you can, so we can test to make sure we know what we're getting. Yeah.
Well, not everybody can work at a wastewater treatment.
No.
So I had to mention it.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
No.
There is a smell that you have to deal with. Everyone knows, and that's part of life. But you guys really are trying to keep that as best you can through your experience and as well as new and upcoming things that are happening that you're studying and learn and go to conferences. You were just at a conference, if I remember right.
Yeah, we're always trying to stay ahead of continuing education and training, make sure standard operating procedures are correct. And
exactly, you got to be in compliance.
Exactly,
Make sure that's happening. Well, I want to thank you, Ryan, for coming by and sharing all that information with us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right, and we'll probably take a tour sometime again.
Okay.
Get an idea what you're doing over there, and maybe the new, I think he has a clarifier repainted and stuff too.
Rehab, new stuff.
Or maybe when you have a tour of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, you name it. So we'll maybe tag along.
Sure, absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you for joining me here on Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. This is Get to Know Your City, and we had a chance to sit down with Ryan Giefer of the Wastewater Treatment Plant. He took over about 9 months ago from Jim Neitzel, and I think he's going to be here for quite some time, which is great, and he really enjoys it. And he's got a lot of new staff there as well, so a lot of neat things there. You can come and see him anytime between like 7 and 3. He might be in and out, but or give him a call if you want to get to meet him a little bit better. Hope you enjoy this program, and I'm Tom Loucks for the City of Wisconsin Rapids, and this is Get to Know Your City. Thanks for joining us.